So, good morning, students. In last class, we have studied the body symmetry, where this body symmetry is divided into four types. One is universal, that is, or otherwise a spherical symmetry. Second one is a radial symmetry. Third one is a bilateral symmetry, and the fourth one is a biradial symmetry. That means when you cut the organism in any direction, here you have to produce two identical halves should be producing. So, our two identical halves or mirror images should be produced, then we can call that as a symmetry. So, here there are four types of asymmetries. And we have studied the body plan. The size and shape of the organism will show a great diversity will taken place. So here there are three types of the body plans are presenting. One is the cell aggregated body plan, the blind sac body plan, and the third one is a tube within the tube body plan. So in the tube within the tube body plan, it having two openings are presenting. One opening is called as a mouth, which is present at anterior part, where it is taken place the food material. That means ingestion of food materials are taken place. That is, ingestion means taking of the food materials. So here taking of food materials, that is taken place through the body, that is through the mouth, where it is presenting anterior part of the body. And the second one is anus, where it is the egestion of the waste materials, or the elimination of waste material is taken place through another opening. That another opening is called as an anus, where it is present in the posterior part. And also we have studied, it is classified based on the presence of the blastopore. Here these are classified into two types. One is we can call them as a protostomic organisms and a deuterostomic organism. Protostomic means if the mouth is formed, later anus formation is taken place, we can call it as a protostomic. If the first anus formation, that means blastopore is developed into anus, later the mouth formation is taken place, then we can call them as a deuterostomic. Next, coming to the next character, that is the body wall, that is body cavity, sorry, not wall, a body cavity. Body cavity, or otherwise we can use the word as the coelom. Coelios, that means in the word it is a coelios, means a cavity. So here these are that means the body cavity. What is a body cavity means? It is the cavity present between the cavity present between body wall and the elementary canal, then it is called as the body cavity, or otherwise we can call them as a coelom. Coelom means it is a cavity present between the body wall. It should be present in between the body wall and an elementary canal. So this condition, this process, this is known as a body cavity. And here, based on the presence of the cavity, based on the presence of the coelom, or the coelom or body cavity, it is classified into into three types. It is classified into three types. So what are these means? Based on the presence of the body cavity or a coelom. Here these are classified into three types. So what are that means? The first one we can call them as the acoelomates. Acoelomates. And the second one is the pseudocoelomates. Pseudocoelomates. And the third one is the eucoelomates. So these are the three types of the coelom, where based on the presence of the body cavity in between the body wall and the elementary canal. These are classified into three types, that is acoelomates, and second one is pseudocoelomates, and a third one is an eucoelomates. So here coming to the acoelomates, A means absenting, A means absence or absent or absence of the coelom. That means coelomates means a coelom. That means here the body cavity, the absence of body cavity, absence of a body cavity in between the body wall and the body wall and the elementary canal. In between body wall and elementary canal, the body cavity is absenting. Then this type of organisms are called as an acoelomates. A means absenting, coelom means body cavity. The body cavity is absenting between the body wall and an elementary canal. In between the body wall and elementary canal, the body cavity is absenting. So this type of organisms are called as an acoelomates. An example, if you see an example here, a platyhelminthes. In this platyhelminthes, the coelom is absenting, will not be presenting in between the body wall and an elementary canal. Then such type of organisms are called as an acoelomates. Next, second one, pseudo means false. Pseudo means false. Coelom means cavity or a coelom or a body cavity. So here the body cavity, that means here it look like the coelom. It look like a coelom, but coelom is not be presenting. Then such type of organisms are called as an pseudocoelomates, false coelom. That means it look like the coelom, but that means coelom is presenting in body wall and elementary canal. It look like the coelom, but the coelom is not be presenting. Then such type of organisms are called as the pseudocoelomates. That means it look like the coelom. It look like a coelom or body cavity or a body cavity, but cavity is absenting. But cavity is not surrounded by coelomic epithelium. Coelomic and epithelium. That means here it is not surrounded by a coelomic epithelium, but it not be presenting. That means it look like the coelom, but the coelom which is presenting, it is not surrounded by the coelomic and epithelial cells. Then such type of coelom is called the body cavity it look like the body cavity, but body cavity is absenting in between the body wall and the alimentary canal, then such type of coeloms are called as a false or pseudo coelomates or a false coelomates. That means it look like the coelom but cavity, but cavity is not surrounded by the coelomic and epithelial cells, then it is called as a pseudo coelomates or a false coelomates. Or example we can see in here in the example we can see here an ASCII helminthes, ASCII helminthes, and ASCII helminthes we can see, we can take in place as an the example for the pseudo coelomates. It look like the coelom, but coelom is not be presenting, it is, but coelom is not surrounded by coelomic epithelial cells, or otherwise we can define as if the body cavity it look like the coelom but coelom is absenting, then such type of the organisms are called as the pseudo coelomates. An example we can take in place as an ASCII helminthes. Next, coming to the third one, eucoelomates. Eu means a true, coelom means a body cavity. Here a true body cavity is presenting between the body wall and the alimentary canal, then such type of coeloms are called as, such type of organisms are called as an eucoelomates. So what are that? Now will be discussed. So here an eucoelomates, here eucoelomates means these are a truly body cavities presenting between the body wall and the alimentary canal, then these are called as an eucoelomates. That is, here eu means true, a coelom means a body cavity. Here a truly body cavity is presenting between the body wall and alimentary canal, then this type of organisms are called as an eucoelomates. And here in eucoelomates, here it takes place here a splitting of a mesoderm and it is lining of an coelomic epithelium is taken place, or otherwise we can call that as a peritoneum. That means here the splitting of a mesoderm is taken place and also it is lined by the coelomic epithelium. In the false coelom, here coelomic epithelium is not be surrounded, then we can call as a false coelom. But here truly it is a coelom body cavity is presenting, that body cavity also here it is lined by the, it is a body cavity, it is aligned by the coelomic and epithelium, then it is called as an eucoelomates. But in pseudocoelomates, here what happens, the coelom is not surrounded by the coelomic epithelium, so it is does not having the cavity. It look like the cavity, but coelom is not be surrounded by a coelomic epithelial, then we can call them as a pseudocoelomates. But here a true cavity is presenting in between the body wall and alimentary canal. A truly cavity is presenting, and that cavity is also filled with the, that is surrounded by the an epithelial, that is the coelomic epithelial cells are surrounded by the coelomic epithelial cells, or otherwise we can call them as the peritoneum also. So such type of coelom where we having a true cavity and it is lined by the coelomic epithelial cells, then we can call them as an eucoelomates. Here an example we can taken place an eucoelomates, that is annelida to the chordates. We are an example for the an eucoelomates. And second one and the next one, here eucoelomates are classified into two types. That is, eucoelomates are presence of, they are based on the splitting of the mesoderm and enteron. Here these are classified into two types. That is, one we can call them as the schizocoelomates and the second one is called as the enterocoelomates. Here this isocoelomates means the body cavity is formed by the splitting of a mesoderm. By the splitting of mesoderm, if the body cavity is formed by the splitting of a mesoderm, then we can call them as the isocoelomates. Schizo means splitting. Here the splitting of mesoderm, that is the coelomic splitting of mesoderm by the coelomic and epithelium layers. That is, body cavity is formed by the splitting of mesoderm, then we can call them as the isocoelomates. Example we can see from Annelida, Arthropoda and molluscans. We can see an example for the isocoelomates that are also an eucoelomates. Next, an enterocoelomates. Here enterocoelomates means enteron means cavity, that is an intestine. So here the body cavity is formed from an enteron of the gastrula. That means in the germ layers, gastrula layers, if it is produced from the enteron of the gastrula, then we can call that as an enterocoelomates. It is also a type of an eucoelomates. That means eucoelomates is classified into two types. One is isocoelomates and second one is the enterocoelomates. So here enterocoelomates examples are the echinodermata to the chordates. Here we will having the that is an enterocoelomate is presenting. These are also a type of an eucoelomates. So this is the three types. That means here the body wall is what is the body cavity means? What is body cavity means? It is a cavity present between the body wall and the alimentary canal. Then we can call as a cavity, or we can call them as a coelom. Coelom means kilios, the Greek kilios means a cavity or coelom. Here coeloms based on the presence of the body cavity or coelom, these are classified into three types. One is acoelomates, pseudocoelomates and eucoelomates. That means A means absence of the body cavity, and the second one is it look like the cavity but it does not containing the body cavity, is not be presenting because due to the absence of it is not lined by the that is not lined by the coelomic epithelium. It is not lined by the coelomic epithelium, so it look like it is not presence of body cavity but look like this coelom. So we can call them as false coelomates. But in eucoelomates we will having a true body cavity is presenting, it helpful for that means a true body cavity is present in between alimentary canal and the body wall. Then we can call them as an eucoelomates. Again, eucoelomates are classified into two types. One is the isocoelomates based on the splitting of, that is formed from the splitting of mesoderm, and eucoelom, that is enterocoelomates, where these are formed from the enteron of the gastrula. This is called as an enterocoelomates. So this is about the body cavity, or we can call them as coelomates or coelom. Next, coming to the according to the body temperature, we'll discuss now. Next, the body temperature. The body temperature. So here, based on the body temperature, based on body temperature, based on a body temperature, the organisms are classified. Organisms are classified into two types. Into two types. It is classified into, based on the body temperature, the organisms are classified into two types. The first one is the homeotherms. Homeotherms are, or otherwise you can call them as warm-blooded organism. Warm-blooded organisms are, we can call them as endotherms or endothermic. So here based on the homeotherms, based on the homeothermic or homeotherms are a warm-blooded organisms, or we can call them as the endothermic. That means here in these organisms the body temperature will remains a constant. That means according to the environment, here body temperature will not be a changes. Here the body temperature will remains constant, but according to the environment, according to the environment, the body temperature will not be changes, but remains a constant. So here according to environment, body temperature will not be changing but remains a constant. Then this type of organisms are called as a homeothermic, or a warm-blooded, or an endothermic. That means here body temperature means, for example, here we are taken place here the birds and mammals. Here the birds and mammals, we can take place an example for an homeotherms. Homeo means a constant, thermic means temperature. Here body temperature will always remains constant only, will not be changes according to the an environment. If the body temperature will not be changes according to the environment and remains constant only, then we can call them as the homeotherms, are warm-blooded organisms, or we can call them as endo means inside, therms means temperature. That means temperature inside the body temperature will remains the constant only, will not be changes. Then we can call them as an endotherms. Here example we can take place birds and mammals. In humans, like in human including human beings also. If you take for example in summer, your temperature is more will be presenting. In temperature here the more is presenting. That means when compared to the body temperature, outside temperature is more. For a body temperature it is 37 degrees centigrade, but outside body temperature it will be more than the 37 degrees centigrade. 35 to 37 degrees centigrade is more is presenting. Then what happens? Body temperature will not be changes. What happens in our body? The sweat glands will produce the sweat for cooling out the body. That means outside temperature is more than the body temperature. So that what happens here? Sweat glands are opened and helpful for the producing of the sweat. When sweat is produced, it cools the body, so that the body temperature will remains a constant only, will not be changes. Will be always remains a constant only, will remaining but not be changes according to the an environment. And otherwise in winter season, outside is very cold, that is very cool in condition when body temperature. So that what happens, the sweat glands which are presenting that are closed. So that here the sweat glands are closed means here what happens, the body temperature will not goes outside. So what happens here, body will be remains warmed. So when it is cool also, our body temperature will remains a constant. If it is less, here during a shivering of the body, when a shivering of the body is taken place here, heat is produced. That heat will helpful for maintenance of a constant temperature in an organisms. So here in these organisms, the body temperature will remains a constant only, will not be changes according to the environment. For example, we will go Himalayas. Himalayas temperature is very less. When you going here, our body temperature will remains 35 to 37 degrees centigrade. Body temperature only will be presenting, will not be changes. So this is where we can call them as the homeotherms are warm-blooded organisms are and endotherms where the body according to environment the body temperature will not be changes but remains a constant only. So these type of organisms are called as the warm-blooded organisms are homeotherms are and endothermic and organisms. And the second type, if you see in the second type, here second type is the poikilothermic. Poikilothermic, or we can call them as cold-blooded organisms. Cold-blooded organisms, or we can call them as an ectothermic and organisms. That means a poikilo means cool thermic temperature. That means poikilo means changing. Here according to environment the body temperature will always changes. Here body temperature will not be remains constant. Why means here body temperature will not be remains constant, but according to environment here what happens, the body temperature also will be a changes. Then this type of organisms are called as the poikilothermic or cold-blooded or an ectotherms. That means here the body temperature according to environment, according to environment, body temperature according to environment body temperature will be changes but not remains changes but not remains constant, but not remains a constant. Then such type of organisms are called them as the poikilothermic, or we can call them as cold-blooded organisms, or otherwise we can call them as an ectothermic. Ecto means outside, therms means temperature. Outside temperature, where outside temperature, what is outside temperature is presenting, the body temperature also will be the same. That means, for example, here outside temperature is 5 degrees centigrade, the body temperature also will be a 5 degrees centigrade will be presenting. So here temperature is changing according to an environment. Then such type of organisms are called as the poikilotherms, or cold-blooded organisms, or otherwise we can call them as an ectotherms. Here we can easy examples we can see them as the species amphibians and reptiles. So these are an example for the poikilotherms, or otherwise a cold-blooded or an ectotherms. Here the body temperature will be changing according to environment. And here in homeotherms, here body temperature will remain constant, will not be changes according to an environment. Then we can call them as a homeotherms. So these are the two these are the two organisms where they are based on the presence of the body temperature. Next, coming to the exoskeleton. Next, coming to the skeleton. So here, what is the skeleton means? It is the hard structure which is present in the body, which gives the shape protection. It gives the shape protection and also the supporting for the body are called as supporting for the body are called as the skeleton. That means here the hard structure, any hard structure of the body, any hard structure of the body, any hard structure of the body which gives the support and protection and a shape and gives which gives shape, support and protection to the body is known as a skeleton. So here the skeleton means any hard structure. That means in our body the skeleton is presenting, which gives the shape and also it gives a support for the body and also it protects from the organisms. That means it protects the organs. So here it is where we can call that as a hard structure which is present in our body. That means in organisms. So such type of the structure which gives a shape, supporting as well as a protection, then such type of part or such type of process is called as the skeleton. So here based on the presence of the skeleton, these are classified into two types. One is endoskeleton and second one is an exoskeleton. So based on the presence of the skeleton, based on the presence of a skeleton, it is classified based on the presence of the skeleton. It is classified into two types. It is classified into two types. So one is, that means one we can call as an endoskeleton and the second one is an exoskeleton. So here it is based on the presence of the skeleton. Here these are classified. That means the skeleton is classified into two types. What is that means? The first one is called as endoskeleton, where it is second one is an exoskeleton. Here endo means inside. That means the skeleton is presenting in living organisms, or the skeleton is presenting living structures. Then we can call them as an endoskeleton. That is, here it is presenting inside the body. It is always present inside the body and generally formed in living structures. So here endoskeleton, it is presenting. It is present inside the body of organism, inside the body of an organism, and forms in the living structure and forms in living structures and forms in living structures. So here an example we taken place in example the vertebrates. In vertebrates, here in vertebrates will having the skeleton, that is endoskeleton is presenting in the form of in example vertebrates it is presenting in the form of the a cartilage and also the bone. In the form of, that means in vertebrates the endoskeleton is presenting in the form of a cartilage and also the bone. So here in notochord, in lower organ embryonic stage it is presenting the notochord is presenting, the notochord is replaced by the a vertebral column where that is made up of a bone or a cartilage. That means in our body it is made up of the bone and a cartilages. For example, you take ear lobes are made up of a cartilage. So here vertebral, your body is made up of a bones where these bones will give, that means bones and the cartilages will give the definite shape, a protection, and also here gives a support for the an organism where they are presenting inside the a body of an organism, and that is presenting only in a living forms, then we can call them as an endoskeleton. Endo means inside, skeleton means hard structure. Any hard structure which is presenting inside the a body of an organism is called as an endoskeleton, where that is forms in a living structures only. Example, all vertebrates. In vertebrates will having the cartilage and bones are presenting. These are the two exoskeletons where they are present. They are the two and endoskeletons present in a living forms of an organisms. Where here a bone and a cartilage will give a definite shape, a structure, as well as supporting and a protection for the body also. Next, coming to the an exoskeleton. Exo means outside. Here indo means inside. Inside skeleton. Here exo means outside. That means outside. Exo means outside, skeleton means structure. That means hard structure. So here hard structure is presenting, that means it is present outside the body of an organism. It is present outside the body of organism, and forms in dead structures. These are present in dead structures. They are called as an exoskeleton. So here the exoskeleton is presenting outside the body of an organism and forms in a dead structure. That dead structures means in outside the body these are presenting, they are in the form of dead. That means these are not having any living structures. They are present in the form of dead structures. So they are called as an exoskeletons. So here these exoskeletons that can be seen in different organisms. That is, for example, if you see a chitinous plates that are called as sclerites in arthropodons, or calcareous cells present in molluscans, or an epidermal scales present in reptiles, or an epidermal feathers present in birds, or epidermal hairs or nails for our body, having nails, claws, and hooves are presenting in the mammals. These are the various types of an exoskeletons where these are dead structures. Dead structures means these are made up of the keratin. It is made up of a keratin, which is a dead protein. That a dead protein is called as a keratin is presenting in these structures. So these we can call them as the dead structures. An example we can see in here. There are various examples. What are that? Now we'll discuss. Now coming to an example for an exoskeleton. Here in exoskeleton we see a chitinous the scales, chitinous scales called sclerites. Sclerites in they are present. Sclerites present in arthropoda. The chitinous scales that are called as sclerites. And next one, the calcaceous shell. Calcaceous shell in mollusca. And also an epidermal scales in reptiles, and epidermal feathers in birds, and also an epidermal hair, that means epidermal hairs, nails, hooks, claws, and hoofs. That is, hooks and claws are present in mammals. So these are the various structures where they are presenting in an exoskeleton, where these structures, that is chitinous scales present in arthropoda, calcaceous shells in mollusca, epidermal scales in reptiles, epidermal feathers in birds, and epidermal hair, snails, hooks and claws. That means in our body the hair, the nails which are presenting, and hooks, claws which are presenting, that are made up of, that are forms from the dead structures only. These are a dead structure. That means this consists of a protein called as keratin is presenting in these proteins. Keratin is presenting in these structures. So they are in the form of a dead structure. They are not be live. They are in the dead structures are presenting. They are called as an exoskeleton, where they are presenting outside the body of an organism. These are presenting. So if they are the skeleton which is presenting outside the body of an organism, we can call as an exoskeleton, and which is presenting inside the body of an organism, that is in a living structures. If it is present in a living structures, that we can call as an endoskeleton. That is example, the cartilage and bones are example for these organisms. So this is about the structure of the skeleton, where it is classified into two types based on the presence of inside and outside. If they are inside, they are called as endoskeleton, where present in invertebrates, and exoskeleton they are present in invertebrates, and also invertebrates they are presenting where they are presenting outside the organisms. So these are examples, that is chitinous scales, calcaceous shell, epidermal scales, epidermal feathers, and epidermal hair, nails, hooks and claws are an example for the exoskeleton. Next, coming to the cephalization and a metamorphism. Next, the cephalization. So here, what is the cephalization? Means the formation of the anterior, that means the formation of sense organs in the anterior part of the body is called as, that means the formation of sense organs, sensory organs in the anterior part of the anterior part of the body, or we can use cephalic region is known as the cephalization, is called as or is known as the cephalization. That means cephalo means head. That means here the formation of the sense organs in the anterior part are in the form of head region, or anterior part of the body in the form of head region or cephalic region in the form of the head region. Here cephalo means head. So here head formation, that means the anterior part, in the anterior part the head formation is taken place. In the head will having all sensory organs are presenting. That means if the sensory organs which are presenting in the anterior part of the body, or that is in cephalic region or the head region, we can call that as the cephalization. In this, it shows, that means cephalization is mainly taken place in the bilateral organisms, where here it helpful for the movement of organisms in all directions. It is taken place. Here this cephalization, that is in a bilateral organism. That means when you cut the organism in only one vertical plane, we are able to get two identical the hulls are produces. Then such type of organisms we can call them as a bilateral. Already we have discussed the bilateral an organism. Here it shows the movement is very fast, and the movement of organism will be taken place during the formation of the head regions. That is, in the head will consist of all sense organs are be presenting. All the sense organs which are presenting, these are helpful for the formation of organisms. So this type of process where it takes place in an organism, where it is mainly shows in a bilateral organisms. Bilateral organisms, where here the movement of organism, fast movement of organisms are taken place. So here it shows if the anterior part of the head will consist of all sense organs are presenting, then we can call this as the cephalization. Cephala means head. That means the head formation. It is the head formation is taken place in the anterior part of the body. In the anterior part, the head formation is taken place, where here it consists of all sense organs are presenting. Then it is called as the cephalization, where we can see in a bilateral an organisms, we can see this type of the cephalization. Next, that is a metamerism. The metamerism. So here what is the metamerism means? Here the repeating. Here what is a metamerism means? Repetition. It is which is a repetition of body parts, which is a linear, a serial, and repetition of it is can be defined as we can define as the linear. It can be defined as the linear, serial repetition, repetition of body parts, repetition of body parts, body parts are called as the metamerism. Metamerism. That means here meta means after, merism means repeating. So here repeating after one by one, repeating the parts are produces. Here meta means what, or otherwise we can use the word as metamerism, or otherwise we can use as the segmentation also. That means repetition of the segments from one to the another. That means here repetition, the linear and serial repetition of body parts. That means same body parts are repeating will be taken place. So here one of the after one by one, or one of the one after the other, here body parts are repeating is taken place. Then we can call them as the metamerism, or otherwise we can call this as the segmentation also. It is also called as the segmentation, where here it shows linear, serial and a repetition of a body parts are taken place. Then such type of process we can call them as a metamerism, where here this metamerism is classified into two types. It is classified into two types. It is classified into two types. The first one is pseudo-metamerism, and the second one is a true metamerism, So here the pseudo-metamerism, pseudo means false. Here what happens, the repetition of body parts are not be taken place. So if the repetition of body parts are not taken place, then such type of metamerism we can call as a pseudo-metamerism. So here there is no repetition of there is no repetition of the body parts. There is no repetition of body parts is known as the pseudo means false. Pseudo means the false metamerism. That means here there is no repetition of body parts. So we can call them as the pseudo-metamerism. And here the largest in this organism, the largest segments is in the form of prostaglandins. The largest organ, the the segment is in the form of the prostaglandins, where here we can see this in the form of a prostaglandins is seen in the form of platyhelminthes. So here a pseudo-metamerism, we can see pseudo means false. Means there is no repetition of a body parts. Then we can call them as a pseudo-metamerism, where here largest segments are in the form of the prostaglandins. Example is a platyhelminthes. And here a true metamerism, true means here eumetamerism or a true metamerism, here there is a repetition of a segments or a body parts, a repetition of the body parts are taken place. Then we can call this as a true metamerism, where here inside in the form of septa and outside in the form of annuals it is taken place, where here a repetition of body parts are taken place in the form of internal structures, internal body parts we can call as septa, and outside body parts we can call them as annulus, where here a repetition of a body parts are taken place. Then we can call them as a true metamerism, where we can see in annelidans, arthropods and vertebrates we can see. So what are that now will be discussed. So here a true metamerism, repetition of body parts, repetition of similar body parts in and out. Here in internally by the septa, and externally by a grooves, or annuli. So here the repetition of a body part, that is repetition of similar body parts in and out, that is internally it is called as a septa, and externally in the form of grooves or annulus. So this type of repetition we can call as a true metamerism. We can call them as a true metamerism. Example, here we can see in annelida, arthropoda and vertebrates. So this is where we can see, that means repetition of body parts are seen in and outside, we can call as true metamerism. There is no repetition of body parts where we can call them as a pseudo metamerism. Example, we can see in a platyhelminthes. So this is where, that is the topics of this is where we can call them as the metamerism, and remaining that will be discussed in the next class.